Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Seattle Socialist mayoral candidate revealed to be, living off her parents because socialists don't ever have real jobs. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
With over 500,000 illegal aliens deported since President Donald Trump took office in January, according to Fox News, the administration is on track to significantly exceed the record number of illegals deported out of the U.S. Since Trump's return to the Oval Office, the administration has deported over 515,000 illegal aliens. Now, could be as much as 600,000 by the end of Trump's first year back in office. And while that seems like a big number, let's assume for a second that the 2 million plus that have self-deported is part of that. You're not even a third of the way the amount of Joe Biden brought into this country. It sounds like a lot. In fact, you're barely a quarter of the way into the worst estimates, which are 10 million people. So let's say it's 2.5 million. Let's just say, for sake of argument, it's 2.5 million. That's a quarter of the way there. That means if you continue this pace, you already had 2 million self-deport. I don't think that number is going to grow as significantly now. I think the people who are here are saying we're going to take our chances. If we get deported, we get deported. We're just going to hide out and lay low. So that means let's assume ICE goes the direction they're going and gets about 600,000 a year. You are still barely going to be a third of the way through getting rid of what Joe Biden imported into this country while he was in office. And what doesn't make life easier is when local blue jurisdictions, like here in Seattle, are fighting you from doing that. And still, nobody has given me a reason why. Not at all. Instead, it's about equity, right? Not equality, equity. What's going on here? They're saying, well, we want them to stay. And then when you say, well, what about the criminals? They don't have the nuanced conversation. Mike, we have the nuanced conversation. We've had the nuanced conversation. We get yelled at by our own listeners when we have the nuanced conversation where we say, okay, what about some kind of deal for somebody who's been in this country for X amount of years? What happens every single time is people who went through the process legally go, why is it fair that they broke the law, I didn't, and I had to jump through all these hoops, and now you're going to give them a free ride? And you know what? They're right. They are 100% right, but nobody's having that nuanced conversation. Any Democrat, I take that back, any far left radical you have this argument with, they just go, it's racist. They're targeting the brown people. They're targeting the people of color. Just ain't accurate. We have people who came from all parts of the world to be here. But now, new research from the University of Washington Center for Human Rights has revealed that the U.S. Border Patrol may have accessed data from automated license plate readers, also known as flock cameras, in several cities across the state, in some cases without explicit authorization. Uh-oh. So what you're telling me is they pulled up information about illegals who shouldn't have driver's license and shouldn't have been licensed to drive in this country and shouldn't have been allowed to register vehicles in this country, and they pulled up that data? You know, in a normal world, federal and local law enforcement agencies share data. It's only because Washington State passed their insane sanctuary state laws, sanctuary county laws, sanctuary city laws that this is even an issue. And I don't believe that those laws have been challenged all the way up to the Supreme Court yet, because I don't think they would actually survive a challenge of that nature. I don't think they would at all. So apparently organizations like the ACLU of Washington have been raising concerns about how the data is being used and who it's being shared with. So what happens? The University of Washington says, let's do a study on it. We're going to stop this because it's racist. The report released Tuesday highlights at least 8 local law enforcement agencies that enable data sharing with Border Patrol, though some agencies claim they were unaware of this access. So, you've got Arlington, Auburn, Richland, Sunnyside, Wenatchee, and Yakima. Some of these, for sure, did it intentionally. Some of them probably had no idea. Just like on your cell phone, you didn't know it's sharing your location. They probably had no idea the same thing was happening here. Why did UW do this? Why did the ACLU do this? So they could say, stop what you're doing. You're violating the law. You're violating the Washington Sanctuary State Act. And now, look what's happening. They're deporting all the black and brown people because you're a bunch of racists. Anytime you try to have a nuanced conversation, you say, what about the criminals? What about the rapists? What about the murderers? What about the child molesters? What about that? No, they're just targeting all the black and brown people. He's an authoritarian. He's Hitler. You're all a bunch of Nazis for voting for him. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that they won't even say, let's get rid of the criminals. You want to have a nuanced conversation about everything else? No, because the modern day far left Democrat Party is pro-criminal. It's pro-crime. So what happens? We got the story here from Como News, because now what happens? The activists go to the Auburn and Arlington and Yakima police departments. They say, see, you're violating the law. So now we get to find out who are the woke police departments, like Seattle, where you have the Seattle Police Department encouraging people to take part in the No Kings protest, even though they're marching on behalf of Hamas and calling for the deaths of officials in the Trump administration. According to Como News, the city of Auburn and the Auburn Police Department have clarified their stance on the use of the flock cameras, following reports that the U.S. Border Patrol gained direct access to the system. In a press release, the agencies emphasized that this access happened without their knowledge and reaffirmed their commitment to preventing federal immigration enforcement agencies from accessing the cameras. Auburn's flock cameras are intended strictly for legitimate criminal law enforcement and public safety purposes. Guys, coming across the border is illegal unless you do it legally. Staying in this country illegally is still illegal. Doesn't that fall under law enforcement, legitimate criminal law enforcement, and public safety? If you don't know who they are, you have a public safety concern. You have a legitimate criminal law enforcement concern. And this is exactly what UW hoped to do with this study. This is exactly what the ACLU hoped to do with this study. The left is losing their minds, absolutely losing their minds. So much so that they are now announcing a new master ICE tracker to figure out where ICE is going. This was the announcement they made in California today, down in Los Angeles.
I shared this with the mayor. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, the Oversight Committee will be launching on their website a master ICE tracker, where we're going to be essentially tracking every single instance that we can verify that the community will be able to send us information on.
Hang on. Before we get to the doxing of the ICE agents, before we get to the tracking of the ICE agents, master ICE tracker? That's racist. You can't say the word master. That's slavery. Those Democrats down in Los Angeles, they're a bunch of racist bigots because they're using the term master. Master. Isn't it amazing how all of a sudden that stuff just goes out the window when you want to go after ICE? All of a sudden, no problem. Let's dox whoever. Let's dox federal agents. No problem. Let's do it. Had a big issue with this beforehand. Something else, by the way, that Mike noticed. So Mike and I went out to the Seahawks game on Monday night. And when we're out at the Seahawks game, those of you who are longtime listeners to the show, or at least who have been listening all week, know that Mike and I had a little bet about how many street vendors we were going to see, because it's been all the rage in Seattle news. The only thing they've been covering the past couple of weeks has been the Mariners playoff run and anything resulting from the Mariners playoff run. So if it bleeds, it leads, and they don't have anybody dying. So where can we find the crime in this story? What are we going to give the crime people to do? Oh, let's go after the street vendors. Let's go after the street meat. Let's go after the illegal street meat all over the place. So what has the news been for the last 2-3 weeks? It's been the Mariners, good things in the community that happened because of the Mariners, and the street vendors near the stadium. So Mike and I had a bet, how many street vendors were we going to see? On the way to the stadium, walking through Pioneer Square, as we mentioned yesterday, we saw a grand total of 3. Coming out, though, we saw tons of them. Tons of them. They were everywhere. Now, why am I repeating this? Yesterday at the end of the show, one of our friends from our sister station, Northwest News Radio, came in and said, hey, Ari, got my attention. Have you seen this release from King County Health? And I said, no, I'm not on their email list. Apparently, they removed me at some point during COVID, and I don't get their updates anymore. So he said, I will forward it to you. And it said it was a list of the 14 street vendors and their locations and the times they were shut down surrounding the stadium on Monday night when you had a whole bunch of people at the Seahawks game. And you had even more people over at T-Mobile watching the Mariners game on the big screens there. And I said, wait a minute, 14? It's fascinating that's the number you have on there. And I went back and watched the video that I took of me and Mike walking in the area after the game. Listen to how many of these guys we counted.
All right, so when we got here, there was 3. Now there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, I think they're together. That's not 2.
That's not 2. That's 1. And then look at all this over here. Look at all this. Wait, unlicensed merch. Unlicensed merch.
No, we said 4. All right, 12, 13, 14. Well, he's got Seattle dogs, though. Do you got the smiley faces, Seattle?
Funny that they said 14, because we only saw one part of the stadium. I assume there are more of them on the other sides of the stadium. Let's say there were 14 on our side. Just extrapolating out, what would you say, Mike? There's probably 30 or 40 surrounding the entire stadium on all
probably.
sides?
Yeah. So this was like right in the north lot as you come out of the main entrance of Lumen Field. And in that report from the health department, it gives the specific address and it says North Lot. So it's specifically this area, and the time code, if I remember correctly, Ari, I don't have it in front of me, it was like 4:30, 5 o'clock or something like that.
Funny you do mention that, because I got it right here in front of me, and yes, it was in the 4:30 to 5 range, because it takes a few minutes to shut down one and shut down another. My first question was this release in response to our video? Now, our video counted 14 of these guys, and they're only saying 14? Unless the same 14 guys are being bounced around. The reason I lowballed it and said maybe there's 40 around the stadium is I assume some of them, when they're closed down, are being moved. But how did I post this video? I said, health department says they're closing all these guys down. Well, then why are they all still out here? Also, they closed them down at the beginning of the game. And we saw police everywhere, and these guys were operating no problem wherever they wanted to be. Nobody was doing anything about it. And this has been the second biggest story in local media for the past few days. So they need to save a little face, because my video did pretty well for something like that. Videos like that don't usually do as well as this video did.
I think it's the stellar narration, but that's just me.
Well, of course it is, Mike. But, most people are watching this on silent in a bathroom. So let's be real about that. I don't think they heard
Which is why I thought it was okay to swear, because I didn't realize that this was going to be a thing.
Right. But
careful when you go viral, because, just when you think nobody's watching, somebody's always watching.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Now, why are we discussing this in the segment where we're talking about ICE? Because Mike noticed something interesting. Mike goes to more sporting events than I do. I usually go to a few Mariners games a year and maybe one Seahawks game and maybe one Kraken game. I know that's more than the average person, but I don't consider that a lot of sports because I grew up going to the Mets every Sunday. And when my father did legal work for the Yankees, I went to the Mets and the Yankees. So it was literally every Sunday. And we had Nets tickets. I was thank God I went to a lot of sporting events as a kid. Never did football, which is why I'm a Seahawks fan. Here, bandwagon Seahawks fan, not Jets and Giants. But Mike noticed something interesting. Mike, what did you notice about the makeup of the street vendors?
Well, this was an observation that I was thinking about when we were coming from Pioneer Square to Lumen Field. That's usually a route that I take regardless of where I get off. Sometimes I get off the light rail at International District, or like we did on Monday, we got off at Pioneer Square. Either way, all roads lead to 2nd Avenue.
Sure.
And in the past, there are what I would consider to be reputable hot dog vendors, like, Al's Gourmet Sausage and other folks that may not have names that I remember. But like these would be folks that would have like legit setups, like, giant grills, giant coolers for sodas, and, a bustling scene, like you could smell it a block away, that type of thing. Certainly a cut above what these illegal, unpermitted, undocumented, Harbor Freight tools and duct tape type of these death trap tainted meat machines.
Botulism on wheels.
There you go.
Yeah.
My point being is that in my observation when we were counting, I didn't realize it until I sat down. I'm like, wait a sec, I didn't see Al's. I didn't see the ones with like the big smoker carts and stuff like that. And it's my observation that those are ones that have been shut down, and because of probably the size, stayed shut down. You're not just like on a wobbly shopping cart that you can move from one side of the stadium to the other to, evade pursuit.
Yes.
That kind of thing. But then I started thinking even further of it. I started thinking about the ethnic makeup of the carts that we've seen, because I've watched your video a number of times, and I started to notice a common denominator, and I noticed a commonality with the establishments that have remained shut down. Most of the businesses, local businesses that I would consider to be reputable, turns out perhaps unpermitted, largely black-owned and operated.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
U.S. citizen, likely black-owned and operated.
most likely, yes. But like I said, kind of bashfully, I leaned into you, and I in the bullpen here, I'm like, most of those run by black folks.
And that's when I realized the guys I notice when I go to the Mariners games, and the way I go, I park at Krispy Kreme, and then I walk over. I usually I'm happy paying the $15 because then I can get a donut on the way home. But what I normally notice, there's the guy there playing the saxophone, and there's the Jesus guys with their giant billboards. But the vendors, the street vendors out there who are selling the stuff that's bagged and the red vines and all that.
Packaged stuff, yeah.
They're always black.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is it appears that they shut down all the black-owned businesses, but let all the illegal aliens, most likely, keep their little rinky-dink carts. Now, here's the other thing. The guys who we're talking about who look like they got shut down, they're the ones who do this every week, every single time, and are prepared. So they may not be up to code. They may be illegal, and I'm not defending that behavior.
Or unpermitted, perhaps, for this
unpermitted.
exercise.
Let's not use illegal. Let's say unpermitted. That they come with all the gear you need, and they know what's expected, and everybody buys I used to buy the red vines for the kids or whatever it was from those guys. They know what to do, and it's a bigger operation. The street guys, the ones that we've seen, the illegals most likely, don't do any of that. So you allow them to stay, but shut down the guys who are most likely U.S. citizens who are doing this, and that sounds like a double standard. And is that selective enforcement because of the sanctuary state, sanctuary county, sanctuary city laws around here, that you let the illegal aliens operate their street meat, but you got rid of all the guys who are actually U.S. citizens? That doesn't sound like equity to me. That doesn't sound like equality to me. That sounds racist. That sounds discriminatory. And it's not reverse racism. Racism is racism. And that's what it sounds like happened here. I reached out to King County Health when I got that statement yesterday about all the ones they shut down, and I sent them my video. I said, if you shut all these guys down, what were they all doing there? How'd you miss all these guys? It's been almost 24 hours, and they haven't gotten back to me. you better believe that during the break, I'm going to be saying, wait a minute. Who are the people you shut down and who are the ones you allowed? And was there a reason you shut down certain ones and didn't shut down other ones because of the sanctuary state laws? I'm also going to be reaching out to the Mariners. Why am I reaching out to the Mariners and the Seahawks for that matter? Is because they have leases with the city. And the leases with the city probably say, hey, we get the food licenses around here. You can't let those guys do it. But probably baked into the cake is, we know there's going to be 3 guys, and they're going to be there every game, but we didn't expect 40 guys to be out there, and that's going to hurt our bottom line. What is the lease with the city that the city has to enforce? And now are they violating their lease with the city by allowing the illegal aliens to be selling the food outside the stadium? It just shows that this stuff is inherently racist and prioritizes people who are not citizens of the U.S. so that they can conduct illegal operations. And while street meat may not seem like a big deal to you, you prioritize the illegal aliens who sell drugs over U.S. citizens. You prioritize the illegal aliens who rape, murder, steal, and kill over the U.S. citizens that are the victims. This is symptomatic of a bigger problem, and I never expected that when Zach and Mike have been obsessed, literally obsessed, for the last 3 weeks with street meat and street meat-related stories, so much so that our listeners of our show think we're doing best of episodes because we're discussing it so much, and we're not, we're live, we're in studio, that it would lead back to the things we discuss in politics every single day on the show.
This ain't even about hot dogs anymore.
No, it's really not. We're making a thing about this. Now, you may think this is no big deal, but once again, it is symptomatic of the same problem. Do you think Mike is right? Do you think that what happened here is they let the illegal alien street carts remain, but kicked out the U.S. citizens because they needed to give somebody to the media firestorm they have created with all this? Because now everybody's looking at street vendors all over the state. But I noticed they haven't discussed the illegal alien angle on all of these, how many of these people are doing it, who not only are unlicensed vendors, unpermitted vendors, but also in this country illegally. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, your calls and your texts, plus socialist mayoral candidate for Seattle, Katie Wilson. Turns out she's been a Nepo baby this whole time, and KUOW, the leftist outlet, actually outed her. We'll give you details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. Yesterday, I got an anonymous tip. I shouldn't say it's anonymous. I got a tip. One of our listeners sent me Katie Wilson's arrest records. Now, I read this thing, and I looked at it, and I said, wait a minute, it's for protesting. If I run this story, what's going to happen? Her leftist activist friends will go, woo, yeah, one of us. And I said, and anybody who's one of her supporters is going to go, that's all you got? Bruce Harrell pulled a gun on a pregnant woman in a casino parking lot. If you want to talk about arrest records, who loses this round? Right. So that would be Bruce Harrell.
Don't give Katie Wilson a street cred. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
American Gothic looking whatever.
So you get arrested at a protest.
Why the long face?
Right. Oh, that's not nice, but funny. So you get arrested at a protest. Okay, plenty of people have been arrested at a protest. She didn't get charged with anything real. All right, she's got an arrest record for protesting. Does any leftist activist in the city not have an arrest record for protesting at this point? There's a bigger story that came out, and I'm not sure KUOW/NPR knew what they were doing when they published this. So they published this article, Katie Wilson can barely afford to live in Seattle, and that's why she wants to be the mayor. Hang on a second. Hang on. Is that because you want the salary and the driver and we don't have a mayor's mansion. You live in your house.
I was just going to ask that because it's like, I can't afford to live here. Give me your house.
Right. Is it
How very socialist of you. Give me your house.
That's communist. Does she get to move when you force somebody?
Yes.
When the government just taxes you until it, that's more socialist. So are you going to force Bruce Harrell to move out of his house because you know that's what she really wants? I want the house with the walls.
White woman pushes out man of color to move into his house. Film at 11.
That's so true of the left. So that's number one. Do you just want the job so you can make the Mike, do me a favor, quick Google search, see how much money the mayor makes a year. I'll bet it's over $250,000 a year. That would be my guess once you factor in benefits and perks and lifetime pension, by the way, that you get. But then the article goes on. Okay, as if that wasn't dumb enough. Here's what we got. Wilson presents herself as a sensible coalition builder who runs a small nonprofit. The Trans Riders Union has lived a mostly working-class life, a renter, a mother, and she runs on issues close to her heart. She speaks the language of struggling people. But not included in the narrative, Wilson tells on the campaign trail is how she affords this expensive city. The answer is simple and arguably very Seattle. Her parents, professors in New York State, give her money. So wait a second. If they are college professors in New York, I know what college professors make in New York. They're sitting very comfortable. They're paying for her to live here? Hey, you know what? I would love to live in Beverly Hills. Somebody should pay for me to live in Beverly. Now you want all of us to elect you mayor so you can live in Seattle? Is this not the most leftist, socialist, Nepo nonsense you've ever heard in your life?
I think we're in the wrong line of work. We should be in public office. It's like, because, it's expensive to live here. I live outside the city, and I drive here.
Yes.
Because this is where my work is. Sure, it would be nice to live here, but I press buttons on a console on a radio station for a living. That's not in the cards for me.
We make radio money. We don't make TV money.
And TV money ain't what it used to be.
And TV money ain't what it used to be. So wait a second. I live in Seattle, and I have to live in Seattle. Why do I have to live in Seattle? If I want to live in this part of the world, I got to be near a synagogue, and they're all in Seattle. They don't have synagogues in Yakima, okay? They just don't. Sorry. But am I asking anybody to pay for me to live here? They send me a check periodically to help with the child care expenses, adding that the daycare for her toddler costs around $2,200 a month. She did not say how much her parents contribute. I got no problem with parents paying for things. I got no problem with that. My parents helped out when I first got married. My in-laws help out all the time. They do. And you know what? That's what you do for your kids. But you're saying you want to be elected mayor because of it? Is that not the most socialist, backwards, crazy nonsense you've ever heard? So because she can't afford to live in Seattle, she wants us to elect her mayor. And here's something else. You know, when I first started out, we took more money from our parents and our in-laws and stuff. And now I've got a very nice radio job. I had a bounce house company. There's things that you do. Isn't Katie Wilson like our age? And she's still doing that? Can somebody explain that one to me for a minute? And you want this person to run our budget? Mike, how much does she make? Would she make, roughly?
Oh, so according to Dr. Google's AI overview, the mayor of Seattle's salary is around $194,000 per year. And as of January 1st of 2024, the mayor's salary was set at $193,812,000 annually, which comes out about $16,000 per month or $7,400 biweekly. The Seattle is set by the Seattle City Council and is adjusted for inflation every year. Oh, well, that's nice.
Great.
Wouldn't
Fantastic.
be cool to get adjusted for inflation.
So wait a second.
every
If it's
year?
adjusted for inflation and living expenses go up because Katie Wilson's a socialist and she's going to make things more expensive for all of us, that means that salary's going up too.
And it's voted by the council, whose feckless policies cause the inflation. It's a racket. It's a racket, Ari.
Oh my God, this is insane. This is absolutely insane.
Since I'm here and I'm already sticking my neck out here, let's check in with the lifestyle choice childless person of the group here, me. She's talking about like daycare for the toddler. You know what? Kids are expensive.
Yes.
Kids are a choice.
Yes.
You could have made a different choice.
Exactly.
Like, oh no, I can't afford to live in Seattle. You got to elect me so I can live here with my adorable toddler.
Right.
How about don't have the toddler then?
You know what? I got 2 kids. Well, actually, I take that back. I got 1 kid who's in college / gap year programs right now. I got another one who's in Jewish private school. Luckily, the oldest one finally making money by being in the army. Wait a second. I want you guys to pay for their tuition, all right? Jewish life is expensive. You know what? I want you to pay for all the food on them holidays. You know what? Better yet, I want you to pay for all the alcohol we drink on those holidays, too. I need a wine budget. That's going to be in my next contract, by the way. The Manischewitz line item in my contract. That's what I want for my contract renewal. This is insane. That's why she wants to be elected? You know, this kind of stuff is going to push me over to the Harold camp, and I can't stand that guy. Insane. Absolutely insane.
It's like when the alien fought the predator. Whoever wins, we lose.
Exactly right. When we come back, my friends, speaking of losing, Democrats are losing in D.C. We'll tell you the latest update on the shutdown, plus more of your calls, more of your texts. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder so that you never miss a minute of the show. Make sure you download the KVI app and make sure you subscribe to our podcast on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Remember, while you're there, to rate, subscribe, and share so that way you and your friends never miss a minute of the show. It's a little early for text of the day, but Kay over on the Warrior Injury Law text line has a great text. She says, Ari, why not get a hold of the guys who are the normal unpermitted vendors and see what they have to say about the illegals? Sounds like some racist sanctuary city kind of stuff to me. Exactly right. I want to know what's going on. This sounds like a job for young Zach. We're going to dispatch young Zach, send him out to the next Seahawks games to find the street vendors. Do some man on the street. Wait a second. Why are we just sending young Zach to games? We like games. We'll go to a game. I say we get there early. We'll go to another game. We'll get some tickets. We'll go early. We'll interview some people, get some pretzels, and be happy. I think that's what we got to do. I think that's what we do. Great suggestion, Kay. That's exactly what we should do. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Leonard in Shoreline. Leonard, what's going on?
Nothing much here. First of all, you mentioned the part about these illegal immigrants being deported. Well, I can already tell you right now that since Donald Trump is starting to deport illegal immigrants now, I've also understood that some illegal immigrants will try to lay low by making sure that they can move from state to state to state, change their address to a non-existent one, and change their phone number with a non-existent area code.
Well, here's the problem. There's only so many states you can do that in because so many states have cracked down on this. You can only do that in blue states. You can only do that for so long, and eventually you're going to need government services. And as long as you're getting government services, somebody's going to be able to track you. And a lot of illegals don't want that kind of heat. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Paul in Puyallup. Paul, what's up?
Hey, Ari, I saw you were almost going to blow a gasket, so let me have you blow your gasket. I want to get I want to get the government open. So, I'm the guy that calls my representatives and say, hey, it would be great to get I started speaking lingo that they said they wouldn't talk to me. And that lingo is illegal.
So wait a second. You use the word illegal. You don't want to give your money to healthcare for illegal aliens, and they hung up on you and they wouldn't talk to you?
No, they wouldn't talk to me because we're at an impasse, okay? Because they say undocumented.
Wait a second. Whose office?
Illegal.
Whose office did you call?
Maria Cantwell.
Oh, my God. She's alive? You got her on the phone or you got one of her staffers?
No. It's just one of her staffers, up front. I call all the offices, Everett and everything else. And if you can't get by illegal, you're done. I mean, they won't even talk to you.
No, of course not.
Patty Murray, you might as well. For Patty Murray, you might as well forget about it because they don't even answer the phone. It's leave a message.
Yeah.
Leave my message.
Yeah, that sounds about right. They don't want to be the constituent. They don't want you as a constituent. They just want the people who elect them as constituents. So when they say, I want to be a representative for all people, blue, red, all kinds of Americans, not true at all. Paul, great call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from our friend of me, Bennett, the protester. Bennett, I saw you go viral the other day. You got picked up in somebody's social media down in Portland.
Oh, which time? For the frog getting pepper sprayed on the ass or the two kids getting pepper sprayed in the face?
Hey, watch the lingo. Watch the lingo. That's not one of the seven deadlies, but be careful. Be careful there.
I was interviewed on the radio about that already, and I asked them, can you say this exact phrase on the radio? Because I knew it was going to come up.
Just be careful. Okay. Be careful.
At the same time of the day as you. I will.
Be careful. No, here's the one, Bennett, the one where you were giving information to the Portland police about ICE?
Oh God, the one that next door to. Okay, so that's the one where I've been asking you, did you see the video? And it's still pinned on my X account of the DHS agent just like pepper spraying those two protesters point blank in the face, and they're just standing there talking to a row of cops, and the cops point out his pepper. They talk to them.
Right? No,
for about
I
10
know.
seconds,
I saw the video,
guy
but here's what I'm trying to
Okay.
understand. You're going to the Portland police to press charges against ICE? Is that what you're trying to do?
Well, I said to them when I was doing it, look, I don't know how likely this is to work, but it cannot hurt to have a record that this happened. There's no downside for making a formal report of this. I don't know what he can. I mean, people have been arrested and charged for things that they did while they were on the job. Whether Portland police can do it, with the ICE agents do it, but watch the video. That is a full-on assault. If you or I did that, we would be in handcuffs, slammed to the sidewalk.
Well, that's why I don't go to. That's why I don't go to protests. Bennett, what do you do for a living that you keep going to these protests all the time?
Well, my parents are professors in New York, and they just send me money so I can afford to live around Seattle, obviously.
Very good. What'd you call about today, Bennett?
Oh, well, first, real quick, what kind of event is Doge going to throw in Trump's new ballroom?
Is this a joke? Am I supposed to say what kind of events? Is this one of those things? You're running out of time. You're burning your clock here, Bennett.
Big balls.
Okay, maybe you get this. All right, get to the point, Bennett. I got to go. You got 30 seconds.
All right. Well, you've raised the question of like why people are mad when ICE goes after people that are criminals. And I just want to reiterate what I said before. If you announce that you're going after violent criminals whose names begin with the letter A, people are going to ask, why are you only going after people in that subset?
Yeah,
and
but Bennett,
error.
we've done this before. Every time you bring this up, I always say there's unpronounceable last names in there that are from places in Eastern Europe on the list of the people they arrest. That case doesn't hold up when you say they're only going after people who look a certain way. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, Jen Psaki is back and saying some pretty racist things about Usha Vance. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. We knew it was only a matter of time. Mike, I don't know how many times we said this during the campaign, but the left is the most racist people out there. They really, really are. And we knew it was only a matter of time until they would start targeting J.D. Vance and his wife, Usha Vance, who's a person of color. Why? Because apparently the left doesn't see color when you're a Republican, when you're a conservative, when they disagree with you. Then you give up your POC status. Who is the one to do it? Who is the one to break the ice on this one? Jen Psaki.
Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time. A long time.
What did she say exactly about Usha Vance and J.D. Vance? Give a listen.
I think the little Manchurian candidate, J.D. Vance, wants to be president more than anything else.
Yeah.
I always wonder what's going on in the mind of his wife. Like, are you okay? Please blink 4 times.
Yes.
We'll come over here. We'll save you.
Hang on. What did you just say? Are you implying that she's a domestic violence victim? What exactly are you trying to get at there by saying that? That is messed up. That is really messed up. What else did Joe Biden's mouthpiece have to say?
And that he's willing to do anything to get there. And that your whole iteration you just outlined, I mean, he's scarier in certain ways.
He's smarter.
In some ways. And he's young.
Yeah. And ambitious.
And ambitious. And agile in the sense that he is a chameleon who makes himself into whatever he thinks the audience wants to hear from him. Now, what's also true, though, is J.D. Vance is not – he's in some ways goodish on paper if you like what he believes in. I don't know. But I don't know that he can take the whole movement with him.
No way.
I don't think so either.
There's no riz.
It's got no riz, right?
None.
And he just is a little odd. And
Totally.
so Trump's odd in a different way. So I'm skeptical of that. So yeah, he's got to, I mean, everything going on right now, and I think we have to be very clear-eyed about this, is about trying to manipulate the public around elections.
Okay. Good on paper. You know what she means by that? It means
please, goodish.
Goodish. Oh, you know what that means by that? She's saying, he came from humble beginnings. So I guess if you like that kind of thing, you guys are bragging about people like Katie Wilson all the time. What did you guys say about Kamala Harris? What did you guys say about any of them? Elizabeth Warren, she came from Native American upbringing. Come on, guys, really? That's what, and he served in the military, and people like him. Now you're back to he's odd, he's weird, he's strange. They're terrified of him. Because he did all the things they say are requirements for the job, and now they don't know how to handle it. You have to be from humble beginnings. You have to do all this stuff, and you have to marry a person of color. You have to be a person of color. If you can't be a person of color, marry a person of color, right? He is scaring the crap out of them. And you know what? I love this guy. Not because he's married to Usha. Not because of his humble beginnings. I like him because I like him. Do I have a few issues from time to time? Sure. But you know what? You're making me like him more and ignoring those issues.
What I also think is funny, Ari, is like they're trying to use the terminology of the youth. Like one of them must have heard their kids say something about the Riz or something like that, which is cringe in and of itself. But I don't think they understand what that means because J.D. Vance has nothing but Riz.
Exactly.
Have you followed his social media? I mean, come on.
We don't use words like Riz because I look at the video stream going on right now and I can see my hairline retreating during the show. So I don't use words like Riz. But Jen Psaki, I don't know what's going on with her. She looks a little too weathered to be using words like Riz. Sorry, it's an actual fact. At least I acknowledge it about myself. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, including the latest financial insanity and crime insanity out of our neck of the woods. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Congressman Michael Baumgartner joins the show to discuss the shutdown and if it's ever going to end. But before we get to any of that, during the break, Mike made an excellent point. And we want to throw this question out to the audience. I want to play that Jen Psaki clip again, because for those of you that may have missed the last segment, maybe you just got in your car and you're just leaving work right now, you may not have heard what Jen Psaki to me said. Give a listen to this, because we have a question we want to ask the audience.
I think the little Manchurian candidate, J.D. Vance, wants to be president more than anything else.
Yeah.
I always wonder what's going on in the mind of his wife. Like, are you okay? Please blink 4 times.
Yes.
We'll come over here. We'll save you. And that he's willing to do anything to get there. And that your whole iteration you just outlined, I mean, he's scarier in certain ways.
He's smarter.
In some ways. And he's young.
Yeah. And ambitious.
And agile in the sense that he is a chameleon who makes himself into whatever he thinks the audience wants to hear from him. Now, what's also true, though, is J.D. Vance is not – he's in some ways goodish on paper if you like what he believes in. I don't know. But I don't know that he can take the whole movement with him.
No way.
I don't think so either.
There's no riz.
It's got no riz, right?
None.
And he just is a little odd. And
Totally.
so Trump's odd in a different way. So I'm skeptical of that. So yeah, he's got to. I mean, everything going on right now, and I think we have to be very clear-eyed about this, is about trying to manipulate the public around elections. And
Okay, let's move past the not so subtle racism there, right? Let's move past that about Usha Vance, because we did that in the last segment. But do you think J.D. Vance can carry the movement? Do you think that J.D. Vance is the natural heir to MAGA? We've spent a lot of time on the show discussing all the people who are trying to be the heir to Turning Point USA or take over the movement. But, guys, there's an heir apparent right here. In fact, there's some polling going on right now about Donald Trump Jr. I actually think that J.D. Vance would be more popular than Donald Trump Jr., personally, because most people would say he's got the riz, Jen Psaki. I mean, look at his social media game. He's really, really good at it. He's really bright. I don't remember a vice president who was ever this actively engaged with the A-plot policy, right? They're usually doing B, C, D, because you never want the vice president to overshadow the president. But here, you've got J.D. Vance, who is a key part of the administration. Do you remember what Brandy Cruz and Jonathan Cho both told us when they went to the White House? That J.D. Vance was there running back and forth, waiting to tell the president something. Turns out he's in the deal and working on the peace deal. Do you think J.D. Vance can carry the MAGA movement? Do you think he's the heir apparent? If not, who do you think is? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. What did I say when we were backing Ron DeSantis, Mike? I said that this is his one shot to be president, and he doesn't have a shot after this, because by then, nobody will remember COVID. Nobody will remember what he did. I don't think he really has a chance to be president anymore. And as much as I love Ron DeSantis, I would say he's not viable unless he gets like a Marco Rubio-type job. Then you go, oh, of course, right? So, Marco Rubio. I think Marco Rubio would be a great running mate for J.D. Vance. That's a ticket, Mike. I would back 1,000%. Or Rubio Vance, but that's not how these things go. I think the J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio one would be a great way to go, and then slide Ron DeSantis into that secretary of whatever position. It'd be great. I think that what you're looking at with a guy like J.D. Vance, I think everybody would naturally be on board unless there's some boondoggle between now and then. Don't forget, 3 years is a long time. What do I keep doing on the show all the time? I keep saying, I love J.D. Vance. I don't like this 1 or 2 or 3 little item here. And I'm hoping that in the 3 years under Trump, those 1, 2, 3 little items get fixed so I can go, yep, J.D. Vance is my new man crush. That's what I'm hoping for, because I think he is the heir apparent. Let us know what you think. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Let us know if you think J.D. Vance is the natural heir, if he can carry the movement to quote Jen Psaki. Switching gears over to what's happening around here in Washington. According to Cairo 7, Auburn Mayor Nancy Backus said Tuesday that convicted rapist Kevin Coe, known as the South Hill Rapist, is no longer living in Auburn after city officials and residents expressed outrage over his recent relocation. She said in a statement that Auburn was never notified that the 78-year-old convicted rapist would be moved to the city and only learned about it through media reports. Oh, so wait a second. It's one thing when they're releasing people from McNeil Island, our local Alcatraz for sex offenders, level 3 sex offenders, the most likely to reoffend, rated the worst of the worst by the FBI. It's one thing they're not telling all of us, which is bad enough. They're not even telling the jurisdictions they move to. You know how these things normally go? You at least inform law enforcement so they know which houses to keep an eye on. Are you guys even doing that? Are you even doing that? So they released him for jail for some reason known only to them. They released him from McNeil Island because they're trying to depopulate Alcatraz, our very own Alcatraz here. And in the process of doing so, they relocated him somewhere else to Federal Way. Said, this is from Federal Way Mayor Jim Farrell. We are disappointed to hear the news that Kevin Coe is moving to Federal Way and want to acknowledge community concerns regarding that move. We do not have a say in this matter, and we certainly understand the concerns surrounding it. Mr. Coe is a man in his late 70s who is largely confined to a wheelchair. Yeah, we've seen people fake that before. While this does not eliminate the possibility of reoffense, we are confident that his presence in Federal Way does not pose a significant public safety risk to our residents. Then why are you informing them? Then what, just for the media backlash? Then you shouldn't have. If it's not a risk, why inform them? We understand that may be a cold comfort, but those are the facts provided to us. This is whoever did this for him is terrible. I usually like Jim Farrell. This is a really badly written press release because you're not giving us any confidence here. Because Mr. Coe was classified as a level 3 sex offender, we are working with the King County Sheriff's Office to send out notification to all neighbors within a quarter-mile radius of his listed address. What, he can only travel a quarter mile away? That's it? I understand the wheelchair doesn't go very far. The notification will include details about Mr. Coe's current location and a current photo. Public safety remains our highest concern, and while legal options in this particular case are limited, we are committed to doing everything within our authority to support and protect our community. Would you like to know where they moved him to? Federal Way people, you want to be really, really, really mad? He's a block away from Brigadoon Elementary School. He's a block. You moved a level 3 sex offender that you released from an island populated by the most likely to reoffend, the worst of the worst. You move him next to Brigadoon Elementary School. I know right now what's about to happen, Mike. I know there are people listening in to our show. We got a lot of listeners down in Federal Way who are listening to this right now going, that's my kid's school. That's my grandkid's school. I know people who send their kids to that school. Yeah, I'll be blasting this out on social media now that we know this information. They put a level 3 sex offender a block away from a school. I thought you're not supposed to be within a certain radius of schools, churches, places kids might congregate. This is insane. Absolutely insane. So it's not just we're going to dump them on unsuspecting neighborhoods, but we're going to put level 3 sex offenders next to schools. And I go back to the original thing, which is, why are the Democrats releasing the level 3 sex offenders, the most likely to reoffend, the worst of the worst as designated by the FBI, from Pedo Island? Why are you doing that? What, you think it's inhumane to keep them there? Give me a break. These people deserve to be in solitary confinement the rest of their lives so they can't harm anybody else. This guy isn't just one-time rapist. He's got a name that was used in the media. He's got a title. He's got a name. Insane. This is Democrat policies. This is suicidal empathy, as our friend Godsod likes to say. Switching gears over to other true crime stories around here. You ready for this one? Oh, this happened right at my Safeway. Isn't this great? I love when crime is like right near my house. This is fantastic. A 46-year-old man, according to Como News, was arrested for robbery and assault after using pepper spray on a security guard at a South Seattle grocery store on Monday. Okay, this sounds like no big deal to you. I want you to listen to every detail of the story and see if something jumps out at you the same way it jumped out at one of our listeners who sent me this story. Officers were called to reports of a shoplifter at Safeway on the 3800 block of Rainier Avenue South around 3:15 p.m. I bet you he wasn't stealing the kosher items. Just the masked would-be thief who police found unconscious in the store's entryway. Wait, what? Had allegedly concealed items and attempted to leave without paying when confronted by the security guard. The suspect used pepper spray and punched the guard in the torso. However, a bystander noticed the attack and physically subdued the suspect until police arrived. Officers reviewed surveillance footage and arrested the suspect, recovering $184 in stolen goods and the pepper spray. That's like one steak in Jewish world. That's like one kosher steak. I'm just kidding. They're expensive, not that expensive. The suspect, a convicted felon... Wait. The suspect, a convicted felon under Department of Corrections supervision, was taken to the hospital for evaluation before being booked into the King County Jail for armed robbery and felony assault. His name was not provided by the SPD. Hang on a second. Mike, is this the second or third case we've had this week where a suspect was under Department of Corrections supervision? I think it's the second, but it might be the third. I think it's the second. But how many cases are there out there where the media didn't cover them and we don't know? This is a petty shoplifting crime. Do you know why they covered it? They covered it because they're still making up for the fact that all they've been covering for the last 2 weeks is the Mariners, and they need something to fill the column inches. They buried this at the bottom. A convicted felon under Department of Corrections supervision. What it should have said: bystander subdues convicted felon who's under Department of Corrections supervision who tried to rob a Safeway. That's what it should be. But they buried that last little part there. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Meanwhile, talking about grocery stores, Bruce Harrell lives in my neighborhood. Oh, he doesn't go to those grocery stores. Well, actually, there's no... Oh, he goes to the PCC. I bet you that guy shops at the PCC type places, right? Yeah, that's Bruce Harrell. I bet you he does. Or he sends somebody to shop for him at those kind of places. So, Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell is desperately trying to get the left and the right back. And I'm kind of curious if it's working with you, because when we put that poll up on my X account at the Hoffather, and it said, who do you want to vote for in this election, Bruce Harrell or Katie Wilson? Most of you picked neither. Most of you said you didn't want to vote for either of these fools. And both of them realize it. So the reason you have all this news coming out on Katie Wilson now, the reason you have all this news coming out on Bruce Harrell right now, is because you're at the finish line. You're in the home stretch to the finish line for this race. Elections are what, like a week and a half away? Next week. The week after. The elections are after Halloween. Halloween's next week, then comes Election Day. Right after that. So Bruce Harrell is trying to flood everybody with press releases about things he's doing but isn't actually doing. Ready for this one? Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell announced in a new executive order that he's improving access to grocery and medicine across the city by addressing food deserts. Now, a mayor's executive order doesn't really do anything. You can sign as many executive orders as you want. It doesn't solve anything. The order directs city departments to take a multi-pronged approach to combat food deserts, neighborhoods where residents lack easy access to affordable, healthy food and pharmacies. Time out. That's not actually what a food desert is. You know what a food desert is? Grocery stores know that there is X proximity away from another grocery store. These are the people who shop at your grocery store. If you are too close in proximity to another one, you can't make a profit, so they're spread out. But the problem is, if you lose a grocery store and then another grocery store and another grocery store, it's really hard for people to go to those places who are elderly or disabled. Anybody else can go to the grocery store because anybody else has a car. Nowadays, our kids now and us will be able to use Uber Eats or any of these delivery services. The elderly can't necessarily do that. The disabled can't necessarily do that right now. I think it's becoming less and less of a problem. And I think food deserts are less and less of a problem, especially since Amazon exists, especially since Amazon has a pharmacy these days. I think this is something that the left likes to say, which isn't actually a problem. I can see how for a few select people it could be a problem, and we need to address that, but I don't think it's really an issue. But anyway, they love saying food deserts, as if you can't get food anywhere these days, as if it can't show up to your doorstep these days from various locations. So let me ask you a question. You had Fred Meyer and all these different grocery stores, grocery outlet, all these places are closing down in our area. You have QFCs that are closing down in our area. You have Albertsons. You have all these different grocery stores that are closing down. You're going to sign an executive order to force them to reopen? What are you going to do exactly, Bruce? Are you going to have government-run grocery stores? You sound like Mamdani after that. What exactly does your executive order do to address it, to study it? This executive order is absolutely meaningless. It is a virtue signal to the left. See, I'm using your terminology. Vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. Can we address why there are food deserts in the first place? Why are these grocery stores closing? They are closing because they operate on such a narrow profit margin that when you have a guy who's under Department of Corrections supervision stealing $184 worth of stuff multiple times a day, that's going to affect your profit. And you're not addressing the crime, and you're not addressing the prolific offenders, and you're not prosecuting crime. You're not doing anything about that. You're not making the city safer. So grocery stores say, we are moving out. You have the high minimum wage here. So grocery stores say we're going to replace you with a robot. And if people keep stealing our stuff, it's not profitable to be here anymore. If you want to address the food deserts, you got to ask why there are food deserts in the first place. And the reason there are food deserts is because they closed up shop because the crime got so bad, or they couldn't afford to operate to be here anymore because the taxes that they are being hit with by the Democrats in the Washington State Legislature, by the Democrats in the Seattle City Council, by the Democrats on the King County Council, make it so they can't make a profit anymore. They are not required to be open. They have multiple locations in our area. They could just close down the non-profitable ones. And you know who this hurts more than anybody else? The mom and pop grocery stores, the single owner grocery stores. Bruce, you did this. You were on the Seattle City Council for what? Almost the entire time I lived in Seattle. You created these problems. You enabled these problems. And you said you wanted us to vote for you because as mayor, you could do more. You weren't just one of 9. You were one of 1. You said that nonsense when you were campaigning last time. And you didn't address any of this. And as a result, there are food deserts. So now you're going to sign an executive order that claims you're going to fix the thing you caused in the first place, which can't actually fix the thing you caused in the first place? Spare me your nonsense. This is a desperate play to get elected. Look, I'm signing a piece of paper that's meaningless, that isn't going to do anything. Oh, wait, Mike, I know what he's going to do. He's going to do like what he did in downtown. We're going to give space to nonprofits to open storefronts in the empty grocery store so you can see community racist art that's anti-Semitic, like that gallery you guys put in downtown, which literally has a Jewish star and a crosshair of a sniper scope. Yeah, that was funded by the mayor's office. Woo! Yeah. Wow, what a big art gallery you'll be able to put in an abandoned Safeway. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Kathy in Seattle. Kathy, what's going on?
Hi, Ari. Well, I love what you're talking about because it's so true. Years ago, there was a drugstore downtown, and they complained constantly that people were shoplifting, and the city wouldn't do anything about it, and the county wasn't helping either. And so eventually that business went, and then everybody got so upset. And it was like, look, you knew that this was happening. Where was the community? Where were the leaders banging on the situation to say, hey, no, if we don't do this and make sure that the businesses aren't going to be stolen blind and be still able to make a profit, then this is what's going to happen. So you created the mess by allowing it to be an unsafe environment, and then you complain that you're being abused. Well, no, you're abusing the system by not standing up to the rule of law.
Exactly, and that's exactly how you get in this place. Kathy, I recognize your voice. I know which Kathy I'm talking to. So, you got any picks for mayor or King County Council while we got you on the line?
Well, yes.
If you don't want to share them, that's fine too, because I'm going the route of, well, no matter who I vote for, we lose. No matter who wins, we lose. That's what I'm looking at right now, and I don't personally want to put my name next to most of these people.
Well, I'm with you on that, but having served with these people, and the choice is all Democrat choices at this point, so it's not a political thing, but for me, it's who has the integrity and who doesn't. And if you look at the audit, and I can send you a copy of my Cliff Notes on the audit that just came out about all of the criminal justice, not all of them, 36 out of the 535 criminal justice grants. The idea that they came out and said that they didn't know these grants were having problems makes me so mad, because in December of 2020, I told them, we've given the money out so fast, and we have got to make sure that we audit this and be right on top of it. And we even put in a person in the grant that was supposed to help these people who hadn't had this kind of money before or hadn't done government paperwork before. And that person was supposed to help them. And then when the audit came out and they said only 6% of their time was spent doing that. And when I'm reading this audit, I'm thinking, what the heck was the other 94%?
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of problems. But I'm going to be bold. I'm going to tell you that there's one person that's running for King County Executive that I did not like working with, and was very instrumental in changing some things in the juvenile justice system that have put a monkey wrench in the system. And so if anybody out there has been abused by a young person or a person that they're now deciding is young up to the age of 24, I will tell you that the person that gave me the most trouble when I was trying to say, no, this is not a good system to take the court out of the juvenile justice system and give it to these organizations, which have now had over a 53% failure rate. The person who messed it up, in my opinion, is Gurmai.
I was waiting for you to say that. That's what I was waiting. I'm like, I know exactly who she's going to talk about. Yeah, so if you want somebody who's directly the cause of all this, it's Gurmai Zahalai, by the way. Yet another reason where I'm like, yeah, if he wins, we all lose. Kathy, appreciate talking with you. Appreciate you listening to the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, so much more to discuss, including the latest insanity down the left coast. Holy cow. Gavin Newsom's California can't get any worse. We'll tell you what's going on. Plus, so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. You thought things couldn't get any worse in California, my friends. Oh, you're wrong. You're thinking Nancy Pelosi's going to be gone soon. Maybe we'll get somebody normal for her seat. Nope, not going to happen. California State Senator Scott Wiener. Scott Wiener, you know, the guy who likes to dress in the S&M stuff out in public, that guy, has launched a bid for U.S. Congress running to take over the seat currently held by former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. He wrote, I'm running for Congress to represent San Francisco. Oh, you think? It was either there, Portland, or Seattle, but yeah. Okay. I'll fight Trump's takeover for our values. Which values are those? We'll get to his values in a second. For real progress, are you saying Nancy Pelosi's not progressive enough for you? I've delivered on housing. Yeah, there's plenty available in San Francisco because everybody moved to Florida. Healthcare. Yeah, that means giving out drug paraphernalia. Clean energy. You're buying your energy from us. And civil rights. And I'll do it again. Let's build the future our city and our country deserve. Well, you already have a poop map. That's what you guys deserve in San Francisco. He said in the announcement video, my family escaped fascism in Europe. Are you playing the Jew card? Is that what this is? Escaped the Nazis in Europe? I never thought the United States would slip into fascism. Yep, that fascist guy just made a Middle East peace deal. That you guys are insane. Absolutely insane. Trump and his MAGA extremists don't scare me. They won't stop me or the people of our great city from fighting back and doing what's right. Wiener has authored a number of controversial bills in the Senate. According to the Post-Millennial, they include a bill that made California a state refuge for trans kids and their families. Wiener wrote at the time that the law prohibits law enforcement from making arrests in response to out-of-state warrants based on another state's law against receiving or allowing a child to receive gender-affirming health care. So what you're saying is just like Senate Bill 5599 here in Washington, you can escape over there and get out of here. He authored a bill that allowed trans-identified males to be placed in women's prisons, proposed drag queen classes as part of grade school education, authored a bill that would make exemptions for the sex offender registry, and made it so you get a reduced sentence for giving somebody else AIDS. Wow. You thought it couldn't get any worse than Nancy Pelosi? It can, my friends. It absolutely can. When we come back, Representative Michael Baumgartner will be joining us to give us an idea of how long this shutdown's actually going to last in D.C. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, my friends, as we officially have the longest shutdown in government history going forward right now, which the Democrats are taking ownership of. In fact, they're bragging about it and bragging about it being used in a way where they're using people to leverage the shutdown to their advantage. The question is, how long is this going to go on for? Joining us now, our very own congressman from Washington, Michael Baumgartner. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, Ari. It's great to be on your show. You do a great job. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Very kind of you to say. Thank you so much. So how much longer do you think this is going to go on for? I got a friend who's in Washington, D.C. right now from Seattle who's saying not much is going on around there.
Well, I am not a shutdown historian. I was interested to hear you say that this is already the longest shutdown in history. My understanding was the longest shutdown in history was 35 days, and I kind of figured one of the things that might be going on here was that the Democrats seemed intent on demonstrating their base that they can set records and fight hard. So just because Cory Booker got some acclaim for setting the longest speech on the floor of the Senate a few months back when he was showing his, I guess, fight against President Trump for his base. And then Hakeem Jeffries then went and set the record for the longest speech on the House floor. I thought maybe this thing would go 36 days, but maybe I'm incorrect about what the longest shutdown is. Anyway, it's gone on too long, and the Democrats should open up the darn government.
So then my question really here is that it seems that the polling's not moving in their direction. It seems like the only thing this has helped them with is fundraising. So how do you break the logjam? Because you need the votes to break the filibuster. It doesn't even seem like this is a problem in the House. This is a real problem in the Senate. And it seems like the Democrats are concerned that if they actually cave in this fight, then they're all going to get primaried by the far left. It seems like there's really no way to solve this.
Well, I think that is the situation the country finds itself in. I mean, Republicans are certainly not going to agree to a dramatic, huge increase in Obamacare, including huge spending on healthcare for illegal immigrants, simply because the Democrats want to shut down the government. So that's not going to be the price that we're going to pay to reopen it. I think you're right that they're raising a lot of money off of it, and each individual Democrat hopefully would do the right thing. But yeah, I think it's gonna sit here for a second. I do think you're starting to feel some tension, some increased tension amongst the public with air traffic controllers not getting paid, people monitoring our nuclear arsenal not getting paid, and individual welfare program payments being impacted. So maybe some of that pressure will begin to mount on the Democrats, and they'll do the right thing and come back and be reasonable.
It seems like what you need to do to win an election, and you would know this better than I have because you've won one before, is that you need to win hearts and minds. And if the polling was moving, I could see the Democrats saying, oh, look, it's going in our favor. There's no reason for us to cave. But it's not moving, and they already lost in 2024. The generic congressional polling going into 2026 does not look like good news for the Democrats. At this point, it looks like they just have to take the L and move on, but I don't think they're going to do that.
Well, they have, as you pointed out, and it's good to remind everybody this, in the House rules, you need a simple majority to pass something. We did that as House Republicans. We voted for a reasonable, clean budget to keep the government open while other negotiations could take place. What's happening in the Senate, there's 100 members of the Senate. There are 53 Republicans and 47 Democrats. You need 60 votes to pass something in the Senate. So that's how the Democrats are able to shut down the government, because the amount of people willing to keep it open right now is, I think, 55. But what the Democrats are demanding is they're demanding these big reforms or changes to healthcare, and that's really being driven by the fact that their base does not recognize President Trump as the legitimately elected president of the United States, and they're mad and they want people to fight. And so the Democrats are demonstrating that fight, and that's why they're getting these small dollar donations. But that's from a lot of folks, but that's not a great way to run a country. But at the heart of the issue is, I think Republican leader Thune in the Senate has said this, and others, hey, we're willing to have a discussion about healthcare, but we're not going to do it as a hostage negotiation while you're shutting down the government. And let's remember that it is the Democrats, with no Republicans participating, that created this healthcare mess. They're the ones that passed Obamacare, and they're the ones that set this deadline for these subsidies to expire. And so it's like all of a sudden the Democrats have created a mess. And all of a sudden they're saying, well, Republicans fix this mess for us, or we're going to shut the government down. No, that's not the way it's going to work. And I think the American people are seeing through that.
We're talking with Congressman Michael Baumgarten from our very own Eastern Washington here. And looking at what you just said regarding Obamacare, so they shut down the government to get that thing enacted in the first place. I know I lost my doctor, I lost my plan, and my prices went through the roof. It used to be Democrats would say no illegal aliens on any of our programs. Now it seems like they've gone the opposite way. Do you think they're realizing that this is what cost them the election in 2024, and that maybe looking ahead towards 2026, this isn't a winning argument for them because it's not actually winning any hearts and minds? This is the very same thing they lost on.
Well, I do think they're really have put themselves in a box with their ideological extremism. And, what the American people did is they elected Donald Trump in both the Electoral College vote and the popular vote, and they put Republicans in charge. And they want what people want is government that works. They want people to work together, and the Democrats are being driven by their extreme radical base and with a lot of woke agenda and these fringe issues like girls in boys sports or excuse me, men in girls sports, and these extremely unpopular measures to provide tax dollars for illegal immigrants. And the American people say, hey, that's not what we voted for. And so I don't think they're doing them any service. Now, they certainly, each individual elected Democrat might have to worry about their base or worry about getting primaried like Chuck Schumer with AOC, but it is going to be a dead end strategy for them. And they should, but they should just focus on governing, because everything can't always be about the next election. If they would just focus on governing and doing the right thing, we wouldn't be in this situation as a country.
I completely agree. In the last few minutes we have with Congressman Michael Baumgartner. So you represent Eastern Washington, and I'm over here in Western Washington, and we've got our own batch of crazies out here. We just had the No Kings protests. What was going on in your part of the world last weekend? I mean, was it as nuts as the kind of stuff we see around Seattle where they're supporting Hamas and calling for violence and terrorist organizations? Is that what you're seeing out in your part of the world?
I don't think anything is as nuts as the left-wing extremists that protest in Seattle. So, but no, we did have. Look, we have. Eastern Washington does have a mix of political constituencies. We have a Democrat-run city and Democrat mayor here, and people came out. But it's so strange that they did it. The timing was ironic. The theme was ironic because if President Trump actually was a king, he would be able to open up the government without the support of the Democrats. And it's coming after what was perhaps the most successful week of President Trump's time in the White House, with the dramatic achievements in the Middle East and what he did to help bring the hostages home. And, he continues. And I say this as someone that used to be in the State Department. I spent a lot of time in the Middle East, worked at Embassy Baghdad, and have been all over that there. What President Trump continues to do in the Middle East is beyond the expectations of anybody in foreign policy. And so the theme of the protest of No Kings was strange, and the timing was even stranger given that President Trump is coming off a great week of his presidency.
Congressman Michael Baumgartner, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for explaining all this to us, and thank you so much for your level-headedness and fighting for all of us in Washington, D.C., from us here in Washington State. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Ari. Keep up the great work.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. My friends, every single election season, I hear from a whole bunch of you. You say, Ari, what about the judges? What about the judges? What about the judges? Unfortunately, that's something where we see a lot of laws being made by a lot of judges or interpreted by a lot of judges. Even at the low levels, we see a lot of people getting released for crimes that shouldn't be released for crimes. Well, we've made it our business here on the show this election cycle to make sure that we are actually reaching out to judges and interviewing them. And one of them joins us on the phone right now on the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Joining us now is Mitch Green, who is running for Federal Way Municipal Court, position number 2. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Ari. Thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. Now, full disclosure, Mitch and I go way back. I've known Mitch for about 22 years. I've been living in Seattle now. His kids, his nieces and nephews, I know all of them. I know the entire family. We've had scotches together. Mitch, you know about politics around here because I know we hang out. Why do you want to do this?
Well, I think I can make a difference in Federal Way. Judge Larson, who's been there for a long period of time, has chosen to retire, and I've been pro temping for the last 20-plus years, and I want to sort of pivot away from my law practice, and I believe I can make improvements in Federal Way. And I could give you examples.
Absolutely. What are some of the examples of things that need to be improved down there?
So, and one of the nice things about me versus my competitor is that I'm still practicing 100% while also pro temping 50% of the time, which is able to be done because of Zoom and scheduling, et cetera. But I have the unique opportunity to look at it from the perspective of a defendant and or a defense attorney. And just even looking at their website, it doesn't match other websites for ease of use and ability to reach out to the court if a pro se defendant wanted to get some information. And I think that those are easy fixes that can be made. Also, access to justice in terms of making Zoom more of an opportunity so that people don't have to take time away from their work to sort of resolve their cases.
Gotcha. And see, this is the simple stuff that unfortunately gets lost too much in the partisanship, that this is the kind of stuff that's easy to fix if people weren't so partisan and just paying attention to basic issues. Now, why don't you tell us the kind of cases that a municipal judge gets? Because so many people think everybody's the Supreme Court and they don't understand how this works.
That is true. And I've even seen some comments on my Mitch Green for Judge Facebook page asking about prison, et cetera. So municipal court actually deals with misdemeanors, gross misdemeanors, and traffic infractions. The low-level sort of infractions, all infractions and all sort of low-level crimes. Federal Way also has a therapeutic court, which is called a community court, which is sort of dwindling a little bit. But I think that there are opportunities there to improve in all aspects of it. And one of the things that I've seen is that on calendars that I handle there, that people don't fully understand the process. And I think, again, going back to the website, if there's a simple explanation, because most of the people that are there on criminal cases are with a public defender, and they get a short chance to talk to the public defender on the morning that they're showing up. If they had something online that sort of explained the process and what the options are and the reasonable outcomes, I think it would make the court move more efficiently and make the defendants actually happier at the end because they have an idea of what's going to happen.
Well, also, we wouldn't have so much things backlogging the cases, which is a huge problem right now. And hopefully we don't have as many protesters because usually that stuff falls in the misdemeanor category. What are some other things that people don't realize that municipal court judges do that you think they would just be shocked and don't realize you guys do? You shred money, anything like that?
No, but one of the things when you become a judge, and of course I'm a pro tem judge, and it's kind of an interesting perspective because I don't have the power, and that's not the right way to say it, but I don't have the power to make changes. I can just suggest changes. But every judge, whether you're in a big system like the district court in King County or in municipal court, they're responsible for the way the court runs and also the employees, and any arguable mistakes that they make eventually fall back on the court and the judges that are running it. So there's a lot of administrative stuff that goes back that people wouldn't see. And just to give you an example, for example, a simple thing, Fridays, because of presumably funding, the court doesn't answer their phone. So I think it goes to voicemail, but they specifically have on their website that we don't answer the phone on Fridays. And I talked with the administrators, and the reason is is so that they can do catch-up work. But realistically, one of the things that I'm going to try and do if I end up getting elected is actually try and get us a couple more clerks so that we can get rid of the backlog. And on my private practice, I actually have a couple of infractions coming up on Friday that when I filed my notice, right, it's normally 120 days for a traffic infraction. I filed my notices in March and April, and they're just having a court date on Friday, to give you an example of how backlogged it is. And that's really a resource issue and also getting to the particular cases that need the attention.
Mitch Green is my choice, and he should be yours for Federal Way Municipal Court position number 2. And I know those ballots are sitting there under a pile of bills and a whole bunch of campaign flyers, so make sure you vote for Mitch Green if you are out there in that area. Mitch, if people want to learn more about you, if they want to donate to your campaign, if they want to help you knock on doors, what's the best way for them to find you?
So my website is mitchgreenforjudge.com, and I also have a Facebook page, Mitch Green for Judge as well. And so they can reach out to me there, and just most importantly, vote because this is an off-year election. And then if you find that I'm the appropriate choice, then please vote for me.
Mitch Green would be the one I would be voting for. He is on my election guide, which you can find over at kvi.com. Mitch, appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ari. Have a great day.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues, including our final hour free for all your calls, your thoughts, your stories, plus so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Katie Wilson's favoritism of defunding the police is fully exposed in a new email. But before we get to any of that, we are now on day, 2, 3 of the White House controversy, where the Democrats are still losing their minds that President Trump is building the new ballroom, the big, beautiful ballroom, off the East Wing. Now that the demolition is done, and that's the easiest stage of any construction, you can see what was actually demolished. For those of you who've been on the White House tour, congratulations. You've been to the East Wing. That is how inconsequential it is. It's where you check in for the tour, or at least it's where you used to check in for the tour. Would you like to know what else is in the East Wing that was built in the 1940s? It's not original. Let's go through the very, very essential things that are in the East Wing. Ready? The First Lady's office. So an office for a person who's not a member of the government. The Social Secretary. Can't do without that. Who's going to book all the PR stuff? The White House Visitor's Office and entrance for tours. The Correspondence Office. All the people who go through the mail for the president. That's not corresponding with like the media and stuff. The Presidential Correspondence Unit. And, wait, most importantly, Mike's going to like this one. Would you like to know what it is? The White House Family Movie Theater. That is everything that is in the East Wing. Now, they didn't tear down the whole East Wing, by the way. They tore down a little teensy tiny part of it, right, Mike?
The front of it.
The front
basically.
of it. Basically, this little reception area in the front, so you can build a big reception area for the ballroom.
I'm glad we hashed this out also, because I almost got into your Twitter mentions. I'm like, am I on the side of the leftist now? Because, like, the White House movie theater, I mean, like, President Reagan had many screenings in that movie theater, and I'm like, okay, now we're messing with history here. And I'm like, oh, wait, it's just the front of the building. The theater's fine. Okay, great.
You know the story with President Reagan and Back to the Future.
I do.
Okay, so I'll tell this one to the audience.
And that happened in the movie theater in the East Wing.
Movie theater.
That's history.
Exactly. So the president isn't like Daddy Warbucks, who can get all dolled up and go have a night at the theater, right? You can't really do that with the movies. So they bring the movies into the White House. There's a story, so it goes, that President Reagan, was watching Back to the Future, because it was released when he was president, in the White House movie theater. And you know the scene when Marty shows up in November of 1955 and goes to young Doc Brown and knocks on the door, and Doc Brown goes, "Well, tell me, future boy, who's president of the United States in 1985? And he goes, "Ronald Reagan." And Doc Brown goes, "Ronald Reagan, the actor?" And then he goes down, I suppose Jane Wyman is the First Lady. And Jerry Lewis is the Secretary of Treasury, or whatever it was, right? And apparently Ronald Reagan started laughing so hard at those lines that they had to stop the movie and rewind the movie so he could see what Doc Brown actually said in that scene, because it is ridiculous when you think about it. But hey, we've seen more ridiculous things. A reality star is now president of the United States. It seems to be working out okay for everybody. I know what this means. Elect more Republicans from Hollywood. Notice I didn't say more people from Hollywood. The left is losing it. The truth is, the left was given the ultimate gift. It's just all these images of the White House being torn down, even though that's not what's happening at all. You know what I can't wait for? The first Democrat president who has an event in that ballroom. You know why? Because what everybody's going to say is, "Oh, I thought Trump built that. You can't use it. It's evil." You know, day and night, Fox News has been running pictures of the various renovations that the White House has done over the years, and it still is mind-boggling to me that the Democrats are going ballistic about this, but Truman literally gutted the entire building in 1948. And Democrats are completely ignoring that. For them, it's, let's twist the facts. What can we be mad about today? And while they're ignoring real controversies, they're getting mad about fake ones. You ready for this one? Do you know what a totem cuff is? Do you know what a totem cuff is? Mike, I see you shaking your head. You do know. You just don't know it's called that. not, okay? This is something that every Jewish kid knows about because we all took World War II history and the Nazis up the wazoo. I'm reading now from the Daily Wire. Maine Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plantner was reportedly aware of the Nazi affiliation of his skull and crossbones chest tattoo, despite recent claims he had never faced negative accusations regarding it until he ran for office. Stop. Wait a second. Now, Mike, I will admit I don't know a lot about tattoo culture. All I know about tattoo culture is from friends of mine that have tattoos because I don't get the tattoos. Normally, I would assume before you put something permanent on your body, you're going to do all the research into what it is, which is why I always made fun of my friends in the 1990s who would get the Chinese symbols. Oh, you remember when that was a big thing? And, oh, it means faith, and it means glory, and it means brave. And I'm like, I think it means order number 36. I think it means the fried rice. But I remember everybody getting these things. And back then, we didn't have the internet on our phones to know immediately what something meant. Now, this symbol, the totem cuff, you know what it is, even if you don't know that terminology. It's the Nazi skull and crossbones. The one that you've seen in the movies before. Mike's Googling right now. He's going to, any second, he's going to go, oh, that thing. You have seen it. You have seen it. If you've seen Captain America, it's basically the Hydra symbol without the Hydra part. It was based on that thing. You're going to recognize it.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
I mean,
everybody knows
on.
it. Exactly.
Anyone who has seen a movie ever.
Exactly. You know what this thing is. So he's claiming he didn't know it was a Nazi symbol he had tattooed on his chest. Yeah, you did know, man. He apparently would tell people, oh, this is my Totenkopf. So Mike knows this is the Nazi skull and crossbones. That's what you call it, right? Or the Nazi death's head symbol.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, sure.
Right. You didn't know it was called a Totenkopf. And by the way,
I did not.
When I heard Totenkopf, I'm like, wait, I know what that means. Oh, right, the Nazi skull and crossbones. Took me a minute there, right? Apparently, he was telling people what it was, which means if you know to call it a Totenkopf, you know what the thing is. This one, apparently, he was telling people in a Capitol Hill bar. Now, why is this an issue? It was because they were trying to get ahead of opposition research. In any election, you do opposition research, which is you want to know what the other side's going to say about you, and you get the research on the other guy or gal you're running against. Now, apparently there's a video on social media of this guy at his brother-in-law's wedding, shirtless. Because who among us hasn't ripped off a shirt at a wedding before? Okay, guys, little confession time. I used to go pretty hard with the drinking when I was younger. I never ripped my shirt off at a wedding. Guaranteed never did that. If I did, I got things under it. I clearly wasn't showing and I used to be in much better shape, so I wouldn't have been ashamed to do so. If you're the guy who's ripping off shirts at weddings, you got a different problem. And if you're the guy who apparently goes ripping his shirt off anytime he drinks, you got a different problem where you would say to people, look at my chest tattoo. Look at my chest tattoo. Mike, do you remember what they used to say about Pete Hegseth's tattoos? Oh, he's a Nazi. He's a white supremacist because he has a cross on his chest. Never mind the fact that it is a symbol of Christianity. And Pete Hegseth is actually very, very pro-Israel and pro-Jewish. Yeah.
Well, and never mind the fact that emblem is like on the floor of the rotunda. Like Jimmy Carter laid in state on top of that Nazi tattoo that Pete Hegseth has on his chest. Shut up.
I forgot about that, right? So while the left is going bonkers about Pete Hegseth's tattoos, Bernie Sanders has endorsed the guy with the Nazi tattoo on his chest. Mike, you make fun of me every time I say this. Bernie Sanders is as Jewish as a ham sandwich. He endorsed the guy with the Nazi tattoo, and everybody knows he has a Nazi tattoo.
Well, turns out I just played a lot of Castle Wolfenstein in the 90s. Who among us did not play Castle Wolfenstein in the 90s? It's a symbol from the game. It's a popular game. I like video games.
It's so popular that there are now millionaires and billionaires who made the Castle Wolfenstein game, and we need to tax them because they're billionaires now. We live in the most ridiculous timeline. We really, really do. So apparently the individual said he said it in the cutest little way. Oh, this is my Totenkopf. The cutest little, isn't that sweet? This is according to Jewish Insider. Plattner said he at the time been aware the symbol meant, he wasn't aware of what the symbol meant when he got a tattoo. Are you kidding me? If you call it your Totenkopf, then guess what? You know what it meant. He says, I'm not a secret Nazi. By the way, nobody's saying you're a secret Nazi. We're saying you're a very out loud and public Nazi. Wait, you're a member of the Democratic Party? We can make all the jokes we want about that one, right? So, moving on from there, actually, if you read through my Reddit comments, I think you can pretty much figure out where I stand on Nazism and anti-Semitism and racism in general. I would say lifelong opponent. Well, not for the, how long do you think it takes to get a chest tattoo, Mike? You think that's like, we just going to get this thing and not for the hour and a half you were getting the chest tattoo for, the multiple times you had to go back for it.
It's not super huge, but it's enough where it's probably a session or two. There's a lot of deep color in it. It's
right.
like it's thick, for lack of a better term.
And he claims he did it when he was drunk in the military. This is a multi-session tattoo. Guaranteed it is. I don't believe you at all. He said, we all got those and we moved on with our lives. Not you. You go around telling people about your Nazi tattoo. It's crazy. It's crazy. And you guys released this in your opposition research. So while the left is getting mad about the big, beautiful ballroom, they're ignoring the Nazi tattoo. We're still going to endorse this guy. Why? Because he's a commie, because he's a socialist, and because Bernie Sanders likes him. So we're going to go with the guy with the Nazi tattoo. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with this? This is the left. Anti-Semitic. Pro-Hamas. The modern-day Nazis. This is who they are. And meanwhile, they call Donald Trump a Nazi. You know, Donald Trump just got back from that whole Middle East peace deal, and his vice president, the one you guys call odd and weird, who went to the Marines and didn't get a Nazi chest tattoo, right? You know, J.D. Vance, he's there right now talking about the peace deal.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, and thanks to your entire team for your hospitality and for having us. As the Prime Minister said, these are days of destiny, and we're very excited to sit down and work together on the Gaza peace plan. We have a very, very tough task ahead of us, which is to disarm Hamas, but rebuild Gaza to make life better for the people in Gaza, but also to ensure that Hamas is no longer a threat to our friends in Israel. That's not easy. I think the Prime Minister knows that as well as anybody, but it's something that we're committed to in the Trump administration. And I think that we've, even in the past 24 hours, had a lot of good conversations with our friends in the Israeli government, but also, frankly, with our friends in the Arab world who are stepping up and volunteering to play a very positive role in this. So we're going to keep working at it. I didn't know what to expect, honestly. I know the president was here a week ago to welcome the hostages home and actually sign the deal. A week into it, there's a lot of work to do, but I feel very optimistic about where we are. So thank you for the partnership. Thanks for your willingness to continue to work on this. And I think we're going to do great things here. It's not going to be easy. I know that there are some folks in the media who I think are rooting against this proposal, but I think that we have an opportunity to do something really historic. So we're going to keep working at it with all of our friends in the Israeli government. So thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Worst Nazis ever. I mean, really, when they call all of us Nazis and say we should kill everybody in the Trump administration, right? Worst Nazis ever. Absolutely ever. Oh, Mike's getting near the microphone. What's up,
I
man?
got breaking news. My dude and Johnny just sent me on the Warrior Injury Law text line at 206-421-5757. You remember Bernie Sanders' honeymoon in Moscow, right?
Yeah, and the fact that he worked for a communist kibbutz in Israel and was so lazy he got thrown off the communist plant kibbutz.
Exactly. So Johnny dug up this picture. I don't know where he found it from, but it's Bernie Sanders aggressively topless on his honeymoon in Moscow, Russia.
Ew! Why are they sending this to us?
I don't know.
John, this is indecent material, but I appreciate you sending that over to us. Wait, for the record, it does not appear as if Bernie Sanders has a Nazi chest tattoo. He just endorses people that do, though I will say that towel that's draped over his neck and shoulders might be covering up a commie tattoo. All right, here, let's start a rumor, Mike. Ready? Bernie Sanders has a hammer and sickle tattoo. Oh, come on. He's not cool enough to have that. Not at all. Not at all. My God. Unbelievable. Bernie Sanders, I don't see any meat in front of him on this table. That looks like a lot of greenery on that table. What, is he a vegan or something? Anyway, let's get back to what the people the left calls Nazis and what they're doing in the Middle East right now.
In Israel, we don't want a vassal state, and that's not what Israel is. We don't want a client state, and that's not what Israel is. We want a partnership. We want an ally here. And the president believes very strongly that if Israel takes... Israel, honestly, with our Gulf Arab allies, can play a very positive leadership role in this region to where, frankly, the United States can care less about the Middle East because our allies in the region are stepping up and taking control and taking ownership of their area of the world. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have interest here. That doesn't mean we don't care about what happens here. We actually see this as an opportunity to build on the Abraham Accords. I think this Gaza deal is a critical piece of unlocking the Abraham Accords. But what it could allow is an alliance structure in the Middle East that perseveres, that endures, and that allows the good people in this region of the world to step up and take ownership of their own backyard. That's in the United States' best interest. I happen to think that it's in Israel's best interest, too.
Now, this gave me a little comfort of a problem I had with J.D. Vance. For me, I thought J.D. Vance was a little too isolationist, right? That was something that always bothered me because how do you get World War I? U.S. isolationism. How do you get World War II? U.S. isolationism. We can have this argument, and if you guys want to have this argument, you give me a call at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. But basically, I think I understand the J.D. Vance doctrine now. I think I get it from that statement. And when we get him on the show eventually, I would love to ask him about this. I think what it is he wants to be where he doesn't have to worry about it anymore. And I think a lot of Americans are there with this whole situation in the Middle East. We're tired of being dragged into the Middle East. But if we can come up with a peace deal where the U.S. is a partner and not responsible for it, then that's where they want to be. And you know what? I can respect that. It's not as involved as I want it to be, but you know what? You're never going to agree with somebody on 99, 100% of the issues. So I'll take 98%. I will. And if it's we want this peace deal to work out because we want everybody to take over their little parts of the world and the U.S. is still a partner in this, that, and the other thing, listening to this actually gave me a lot of comfort of something I was uneasy about. In fact, I'm going to reach out to J.D. Vance's people again and see if we can get the vice president on the show because we've been working on that for some time now. I'm going to see if I can make that happen. But yes, he's saying all the right things on this trip. So meanwhile, the left is calling these people Nazis who are solving peace in the Middle East. But, looking the other way on the guy with the Nazi tattoo, that's from the SS. That's literally the symbol of the SS, the guys who would round up the Jews.
Over the world because it shows what's possible when you're willing to think outside the box and actually put some elbow grease to get it done.
Boom. As opposed to the failed foreign policy of the past of the Biden administration and so many other administrations that came before this one. So much more to get to today on this jam-packed episode of the Ari Hoffman Show. When we come back, my friends, Katie Wilson exposed for all her defund the police insanity. We'll have those for you, plus so much more. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast, right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder for you to download the KVI app and subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. While you're there, rate, subscribe, and share. So that way you and your friends never miss a minute of the show. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Gordon in Seattle. Gordon, what's going on?
Hi. One of my instructors at Edison Tech was actually a young child at Auschwitz, and he actually showed us his tattoo on his wrist. And he described something that is really hard to believe, but it would probably be equivalent of the Stockholm Syndrome or a variation thereof. And he had all the Jews were lined up and walking into the oven. No, actually into the gas chamber, which would eventually turn into the oven. And they were just kind of huddled up and just shivering. But then one of the guards spotted one of the women in there who was a famous ballerina, and he called her out and wanted her to dance. And while she was dancing, she became an individual again. And she danced up to him, pulled his Luger out of his holster, killed him and about 6 or 7 other guards before they finally opened up and shot her. And the whole time, the people going into the gas chamber, which turned into an oven, just stood there shivering.
That's fascinating.
And,
I would really have to see something about that story because I don't think I ever saw or heard anything about that story. That's interesting. But mentioning the tattoo thing, I mean, this guy gets a symbol of so much hatred and so much pain and so much death and so much destruction. And yet I know people who have the actual tattoos on their arms, which the Nazis made them get, the ones they can never get rid of their entire lives. And it's really crazy to me that the left, who's always like, we're anti-fascists, we're fighting fascists, literally they're backing a guy who's got this full-scale Nazi tattoo on. Gordon, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Have you seen this insanity, by the way? Mike, I'm sure you've seen this before on social media, where the people on the left are like, we're fighting fascists, just like they did in the military and in World War II. I said, by standing there holding a lame sign? First of all you lefties out there, we know the majority of you did not serve. In fact, you aging hippies out there were protesting against those who were serving. So don't tell me that standing out on a sunny day in any U.S. city holding a sign or dressed in some kind of weird inflatable costume is like the kids storming Normandy who were 18 years old. Yeah, that's the resistance, right, Mike? Insane.
That reminds me of one of the I don't know if you would call it a meme or whatever, but like one of the common turns of phrase I saw during like the No Kings rally and stuff is people posting things saying like, I am Antifa. Like it would be like, low-level political figures and other social justice warriors, the usual suspects, as it were. But I don't know. This is probably a different topic for a different time. But when people talk about what Antifa is, depending upon what your political affiliation is and where you get your news from, that might mean a couple different things. So, like, for example, when we and our audience, we talk about Antifa, we know what we're talking about. We're talking about, aggressive, fiery, but mostly peaceful rioters for the most part. But then, like, there's I don't know, I guess I would call them like the normies or the civilians or the casuals or whatever that aren't as informed as we are. And when you say, like, Antifa, well, what is that? Well, it's short for anti-fascist. Well, fascism is bad, so therefore I am anti-fascist.
Yes.
And it's like, no, it's not what you think it is. It's like, well, is that are you pro-fascist then because you're against Antifa? No, friend, that's not how that works. There's a lot of nuance and quite frankly, deceptive branding. We talked about this like years ago, like during COVID and stuff, but like that part of the informational narrative seems to have kind of dropped off in recent times. We use Antifa as a shorthand, but we don't always differentiate what the difference between that is and like what is anti-fascist or anti-fascist or whatever.
I got a crash course on this, actually. Mike, I don't think I ever told this story before. When I was running for office in 2019, I didn't know what Antifa was, right? And I don't remember if this is when everything had happened to Andy Ngo yet. Yeah, I think it was. And I'd seen some of the stuff on, some of it. It's definitely before the Summer of Love when everybody found out what Antifa was, right? It was before all that. And basically, Andy Ngo was the only one covering this stuff. And I knew it was in Portland. I didn't really know it was in Seattle. I didn't know. We all learn these things down the road. Now we're like experts on Antifa, unfortunately, for all the wrong reasons. But I was running for office, and Antifa released a video targeting me on social media. And I was freaked out because I'm like, what, are they going to throw a milkshake at me? Are they going to attack me? What are we talking about here? And I remember I had Democrats who worked for my campaign. And I sent them the video where Antifa was targeting me specifically. And I said, guys, what are we going to do about that? And they go, it's fine. And I said, it's not fine. It's Antifa. And one of them says to me, and this I think was an email or something, no, it's fine. I have friends who are Antifa. And another one says, Ari, I'm Antifa. It's fine. And I didn't realize the subtle levels of Antifa where you have the radical lunatics, but how many Democrats, Democratic operatives, think they are Antifa and they are part of this movement. Because there's the ones that go out there as foot soldiers. There's the ones that think, well, I'm fighting fascists because I'm fighting Republicans. And there's the ones that agree with the ones out in the field and just, yeah, I'm part of them, but I don't want to be out in the field because then I might get arrested with everybody else. There's many levels in between all this. That was my first exposure to Antifa. That was literally it, was that video targeting me during my campaign. And after that, I started taking a keener interest in Antifa, especially when my race was over, where I was following this kind of stuff. And when I saw it with my own eyes, and I saw the violence these crazies do on the street, but then I saw something fascinating following that. It's like you have this new generation of Antifa, like sumo Antifa that we've seen from Katie Daviscourt, that big dude, and these other ones who are clearly not the muscle. They just want to be at the cool kids table of a lot of them have some serious mental health issues, shall we say, having interacted with them because they're always part of the anti-Israel protests and stuff. But this is a whole nother level of what we're talking about. And when we come back, somebody who supports this insanity, Katie Wilson. Oh, dear, this anti-police rhetoric she's been spewing that apparently now has caught up with her. We'll give you all details on it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. You know, our last caller, Gordon, told a story that I was somewhat skeptical of about something that happened during the Holocaust. So I went and Googled it during the break, and I found the actual story of what Gordon was talking about. Apparently, there was a ballerina named Francesca Mann. She was 26 years old in 1943. She was born in Warsaw, Poland. Became a beautiful and talented ballerina, thought to have the most potential among her generation of dancers. While she was in hiding in Warsaw, she and a few thousand other Jews were tricked by Germans into what is known as the Hotel Polski affair. They were promised that they would be taken to Switzerland and exchanged with the Allies in return for German prisoners of war. However, the train's last stop was actually Auschwitz, where they arrived on October 23, 1943. The women were told to remove their clothing, which they had been wearing since they had left Poland, so they could be sanitized before crossing the border. At this point, Mann cleverly realized the ruse and began to formulate her attack. With most of the witnesses left dead, multiple interpretations of Mann's revolt formed. One version of the events details how Mann began her insurgence by performing a dance for 3 Nazi guards. According to this version, she enticingly removed her clothes, then her shoes, which distracted the guards enough for her to hurl her high heel at a senior squad leader. She grabbed his firearm after he fell to the ground in anguish. She then shot Nazis Joseph Schillinger and Willem Emmerich. Schillinger died a few hours later, and Emmerich was left with a permanent limp. Another version of the event describes how when she was ordered to strip completely, she threw a bra at the guard's head, hurled herself onto him, enabling her to grab his firearm and shoot at the guards. This makes a lot more sense than the other version I heard, but that's the actual story. Switching gear entirely, I've been promising this story for a while now. I don't know who Neighborhoods for Smart Streets is, but they put together this great email talking about Katie Wilson, who has consistently advocated to defund, disband, and abolish City of Seattle law enforcement systems. This is Katie Wilson, who's running for mayor of Seattle. Beginning in 2020, and all of this has links, which I'm going to pull up for tomorrow, Wilson advocated for a future entirely without SPD. She wrote a Cascade PBS column that year plainly saying, let's stick with the current movement, demand of cutting the SPD budget by half. In that column, she left unanswered questions regarding whether police abolition is possible under capitalism, but professed there's a strong argument for simply disbanding police departments and starting over. When the City of Seattle Council proceeded to slash SPD funding by 20%, Wilson said she was disappointed that more significant moves hadn't been made in this budget to reduce the size of the police force. She also stated she was hopeful that the attrition strategy will actually reduce SPD numbers as the next year goes on. So exactly what happened. As the Transit Riders Union General Secretary, Wilson served as lead architect of the solidarity budget for the years 2020 to 2024. In that capacity, she wrote to the Seattle City Council in 2021, SPD has 1,070 cops on the streets. SPD should continue to shrink the force and reduce the number of funded sworn officer positions to 750. Hey, guess what? You did that. And how's that worked out for everybody? She also helped craft this budget, which the 2022 budget should reflect a full divestment from the racist, failed war on drugs in the form of fully defunding the Narcotics Investigation Unit. Hey, she did that too. How's that working out for everybody in Seattle? She also led a 2022 demand that the divestment from SPD continue and that Seattle continue to shrink other parts of the policing pipeline by defunding the municipal court and the criminal division of the city attorney's office. Hey, we discussed earlier that her mom and dad were paying for all her expenses or paying for childcare or paying for something. Does that include armed guards? Were they paying for it? Because Mom Donnie's did include that. Mom Donnie's parents got armed guards at their house in Uganda. Through 2024, Wilson also was the architect of very specific budget demands of the city council to defund and divest from various core city law enforcement systems. To quote from her budget proposals, divesting from police courts and prosecutions, defund the city attorney's office and Seattle Municipal Court. See, they don't just want to get rid of the police, by the way. They want to take down the entire system. Defund the criminal division of the city attorney's office and punishment division. So you want to shut all that down? By the way, I reached out to Katie Wilson's office today. I know that a lot of other people had her on before, but I wasn't so interested. Now I want to know if she sticks by all this because she hasn't been showing up to debates recently. And since she hasn't been showing up to debates, nobody's going to ask her these questions. So now we're going to have her on the show to ask these questions. During a September 15th debate on the Seattle channel, Mayor Bruce Harrell asked her about a future entirely without SPD. She replied, "I never said that." But she was quoted by Publicola as saying, we want to move towards a future entirely without the SPD. I'm looking at it right here. Love to have her on the show. Hey, guys, what do you think the odds are? You think she's going to say yes about coming on the show now that this thing's out there? What do you say? You think we're gonna have Katie Wilson?
How about no?
Exactly. I think that's what's going to happen. Likewise, during October 3rd debate hosted by King 5 in the Seattle Times, Harold challenged her as having no background in public safety except arguing to defund it. Now, here's something which is coincidental timing. This thing came out a day or two ago, and then all of a sudden Bruce Harrell says he's going to sign the SPD contract. All of a sudden, Do you think that the neighborhood of smart streets is a pack for Bruce Harrell? Hang on, where's the bottom of this email here? Hang on a second. Neighborhoods of smart streets. We'll do some Googling. We'll do some Googling of these guys after the show. I guarantee you we're going to find a pack for Harrell at the end of this, but it doesn't make it any less true. It doesn't make it any less true at all. And now I got a question for Bruce Harrell, because I'm equal opportunity. No matter which one of these guys wins, we lose. Here's my question for Bruce Harrell. The police contract's been sitting out there for a while now. We've had Mike Solon on the show for a while talking about how they're working without a contract again. Why are you only signing it now? And did you actually sign it? Or are you saying you're going to sign it to get people like us on your side? We will follow this career with great interest. Look, you have a choice. If you're looking for the lesser of two evils, you take Bruce Harrell. At the same time, I'm not putting my name on either one of these guys, and I think enough people are looking at this election and saying the exact same thing. Only good news to wrap up the show. We got so much good news for you, it's coming out our ears right now. Good news to put a smile on your face. Heading into your evening commute, you're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And Mike says all the time, don't sleep on October. This is the third or fourth night in a row where we have a beautiful sunset out our windows right now. I'm sorry that I talk about the weather during the good news segment, but it really is magnificent out there right now. Mike says this every year.
Do you remember having to pull the shades down in September?
Right.
Because I don't.
No, didn't have to, but now we have to do that now. Right, September wasn't that great, but October, magnificent, really magnificent. It's amazing what happens right after Halloween. Right after Halloween, the rain's be coming.
The time change.
Exactly.
The darkness arrives.
Exactly. That's why we switch our music for the segment this time of year. Mike, you're not one of those welcoming the rain back people, are you?
No.
Right. I don't. My wife is one of those people. I do not understand it. We have such beautiful weather here for such a short amount of time. Why do you want that gone? Look, I like a cloudy day as much as the next. I never want rain. I like a change in seasons. I don't want the rain to come back. Then I got to worry about what car I'm driving. Luckily, I got my friends over at Renton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram who gave me that beautiful, absolutely amazing Jeep Rubicon, which I am driving around. That's right, still driving the Hulk. Loving that sucker, by the way. It's awesome, and the traction's incredible. Actually, it'd be pretty fun to take that sucker skiing. That's right, throw the skis in the back, take that up to the mountain, see what it can do. I've never taken the electric cars in the snow before, so we'll see how that one handles it. I'm sure it'll be fine because the torque is out of control. Meanwhile, in other good news, my friends, Mike found this one for me today, and immediately I go on the website. I'm like, are they coming to Seattle? Are they coming to Seattle? Are they coming to Seattle? Let me back up. I got to give you some background for this. The soundtrack of my life is Bon Jovi. And then you go, well, Ari, why isn't Bon Jovi the beginning of your show? Because I really like that Kickstart My Heart song. But anywho, love Bon Jovi. And I had this plan where for my 40th birthday, my in-laws asked me for, what do you want for your 40th birthday? And I go, you guys got all these concert tickets and stuff. Can you get me tickets to see Bon Jovi with my boys? We're all going to go, me and my boys, we're going to go see Bon Jovi. He's coming to, I think back then it was the Key Arena, whatever it was. He was coming to somewhere in Seattle. And we had the tickets all booked, and I was really, really excited for this. And then what happens? COVID hits. And didn't get the tickets back. No rescheduling. Guys, I want you to know Bon Jovi hasn't gone on tour since 2019. Since 2019. Now, my boys, who were little guys at the time, one's in the Israeli army and one's in college. They're not even here to go with me anymore. I don't know if my wife is going to go to Bon Jovi with me, but also I went right to the website when Mike found this article announcing the new tour, and I thought to myself, wait a second. Are they coming to Seattle? So far, no. So far, this looks like a really abridged tour. It looks like they're going to the UK and Ireland and places like that, Dublin a little bit, and New York mostly. Also, here's something else. I couldn't help but notice this. Mike, I don't know if you noticed this. I did notice that Richie Sambora is not with them. I know they had that big breakup or whatever it was, or Richie Sambora's retired or something, but no Richie Sambora, and that's half the fun of a Bon Jovi concert, for those of you who are in the know. So, anywho, Bon Jovi is going back on tour. The other originals are all there, which is great. But apparently he said that the reason he couldn't go out more often is because he had to have vocal surgery because his voice, hitting the notes of R2-D2 for years will probably destroy your voice. So Bon Jovi's 63 years old. 63 years old. Bon Jovi's Forever Tour marks the long-awaited return to touring following the frontman's vocal surgery in 2022. John Bon Jovi chronicled his surgery and recovery in a Hulu docuseries in 2024 called Thank You, Good Night, the Bon Jovi Story. I haven't watched that yet. I should really check that out. He said, this was unique. It wasn't a nodule. The strong vocal cord was pushing the weak one around, and suddenly my inabilities were just exacerbated. The documentary also focuses on the band's final concert before the frontman surgery, which was held in Nashville. Bon Jovi's last concert in Nashville was seen on the documentary, so now I have to go check it out. Let's see what we got here. July 7th, Madison Square Garden. July 9th, Madison Square Garden. July 12th, Madison Square Garden. July 14th, Madison Square Garden. This is not very helpful. You're just going to New York the whole time. Now I'm all bummed out. Let's see. August 28th, Edinburgh, UK. August 30th, Dublin, Ireland. September 4th, Wembley Stadium, UK. Well, I guess unless I'm going to Bon Jovi in New York this summer, I'm not getting to see Bon Jovi this time either. How very disappointing. Did see this story. from King 5. Remember the viral moment from the late season Mariners game nearly 10 years ago where the little girl making faces is covered with blue cotton candy? Well, guess what? The cotton candy girl's back and excited as ever to cheer on the Mariners during their historic season. This article is really just adorable because you see the little girl's picture, and she don't look like that anymore, but she did talk to King 5 about the viral moment. Her name is Beatrix, by the way. She says, when I've been friends with somebody for a while, eventually I bring it up, and then they see and go, oh, yeah, I think I've seen that. You know what? She's way better than the Nirvana kid, right? She's not trying to join the Mariners or suing the Mariners for using her likeness or anything like that. And this girl didn't even get the few $100. Just an adorable kid caught on camera. Remember, my friends, if you want to follow the show when we are not broadcasting, check out my social media, Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, The Hofffather over on Twitter, and The Ari Hoffman Show over on YouTube and Rumble. You can catch it on over there. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories and more exciting guests. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.